Good evening, everyone. My name is Rumbidzo, and I am 23 years old. I am currently in university. In today's video, we're going to be talking about responsibility, and I'm mainly going to be speaking to the teenagers. But anybody else, please do feel free to listen, and hopefully, you learn a thing or two. So before I start talking about responsibility, I'm gonna talk about parenting a little bit, and then we can move on to responsibility, and hopefully you see the link between the two, parenting and responsibility. So I'm going to start off by defining parenting. So parenting is the process of promoting and supporting the physical, social, emotional, behavioral, intellectual, and spiritual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. So now I'm going to talk about the motive or the goal of parenting. So what is the motive or what is the goal of parenting? So basically, when our parents are parenting us, they are trying to develop or they're trying to raise a responsible child. So this is how it works. When we are children, our parents face problems on our behalf. They decide what's best for us, they make decisions for us, they take risks for us, they think on our behalf, they explain things to us, and they question things for us. And as we are growing and becoming adults, they're slowly passing on that responsibility to us, such that when we do then become adults, we can now face our own problems, we can now decide for ourselves, we can make decisions for ourselves, we can take risks, and we can think for ourselves, and then we can also explain things to ourselves, and we can question things for ourselves. So now we're going to move on to responsibility. I'm gonna define what responsibility is. So responsibility is the state or fact of being responsible, answerable, or accountable for something within one's power, control, or management. It is also the ability to answer for one's conduct and obligations. It is also the ability to respond to issues of life in a manner that promotes your and others' well-being. So now we're going to move on asking the question, why is taking personal responsibility for your life important? Someone might be asking, like, why should I take responsibility for my life? Like, why is it so important? The answer to that question is success in life requires a person to take responsibility for their own life within a given time frame. And I think that within a given time frame is very important, because sometimes when we're young, we tend to make choices that affect our lives negatively in the long run. We want to have fun, and there's really nothing wrong with that, but sometimes we're not really looking at how some of these choices that we're making affect us in the future. So we really need to be careful of some of the choices that we make when we're young, when we're having fun, and just try and be responsible and see if these choices you're making, are they good for your future, or are they going to be bad for your future. So you really just need to be careful. Also, Raymond Reed said that the future belongs to those who are willing to assess their current reality, envision what they believe will happen, and then take responsibility for translating their vision into a reality. So, what does accepting responsibility mean? One might be asking, what does it really mean when you say I've accepted responsibility? What does that mean? So, accepting responsibility means that you're acknowledging that you're solely responsible for the choices in your life. So, not your mom, not your dad, not your brothers, not your teachers, not your pastor, but you. You are responsible for the choices in your life. You and you alone. Accepting responsibility also means that you're responsible for what you choose to feel or think, or the direction for your life. You are also accepting that you cannot blame others for the choices that you have made. So if you have a big test coming up and you don't study for the test and you end up failing, you can't then go on to blame your teacher for not teaching you properly because you didn't study for the test. So you can't be blaming anyone for the choices that you make in your life. You have to, acknowledge that yes, I made a bad choice, and yeah, it's on me and not anybody else. Accepting responsibility also means tearing down the mask of defense or rationale for why others are responsible for who you are, what has happened to you, and what you're bound to become. It is also recognizing that as you enter adulthood and maturity, you determine how your self esteem will develop. Okay, so what do people believe who do not accept personal responsibility? How can you say I am responsible for what happens to me in the future? There's fate, there's luck, politics, greed, envy, wicked and jealous people, and other negative influences that have a greater bearing on my future than I have. I never asked to be born. I want you to fix me. Life is unfair. There's no sense in trying to take control of my life. Why go on? I see no use in it. Stop the world. I want to get off. Life is so depressing. If only I had better luck and had been born to a healthier family or attended a better school or gotten a better job, etc. And then, so how can failing to accept personal responsibility result in negative consequences? You can become chronically hostile, angry, or depressed over how unfairly you have been or are being treated. You can become fearful and, fearful about ever taking a risk or making a decision. You can become overly dependent on others for recognition, approval, affirmation, and acceptance. You can become unsuccessful at the enterprises you take on in life, and you can become addicted to unhealthy substances such as the abuse of alcohol, drugs, food, or unhealthy behavior such as excessive gambling, shopping, sex, smoking, work, many more. And then you can also be unable to develop trust or to feel secure with others. So for today, this is where we're going to stop. And next week, we will then be looking at responsibility and decision making, how, responsibility affects decision making. And yeah, so I hope you've learned something from this video. And next week, we will continue. So have a good day. Have a blessed week. I will see you next week. Thank you.